Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will be teaching you the most important hook in React, useState, and this will be a project-based learning, and in the end we will have created this pretty simple website where we can add some value and subtract some value. And we will be creating all of this using useState, and I will also explain along the way what useState is and how to use it. What I've done here is opened up a clean new React project using Vite, and we will now be going into app.jsx, which is under the source folder. And as you can see here, we've actually already got the app that we're going to make created for us by default, but we're going to actually learn how this works and about useState. So to do this, let's first delete everything and type rfce and click enter. Now if the rfc command does not work for you, just go on over to extensions and download the React. It should be the first one. Now once you've done this, you want to go ahead and run the app. I've already ran it, but to run the app, what you want to do is npm run dev, and it should open up on a browser. So it should open up and say app. Now useState, basically, first let's actually learn about what state is. So basically, state is a data, or state is data that changes over time. So for example, in our counter app, the number that shows up on the screen is state because it changes when you click buttons. Now state is important because it helps us keep track of information that can update or change, and when state changes, React re-renders the component to update the data automatically. So to get started with useState, we need to first import it from React. So after we do import React, let's also add a comma, curly brackets, and import also useState. Now the basic syntax for setting up a state is as follows: const brackets the state that we're making, comma, and then we're gonna be making the function which changes the state. So set state is equal to useState parentheses. Now to break this down, this const state right here, this is the actual data. This is all the data that our state's gonna have. The set state is gonna be the function which changes this data. So when we click the increment button, we wanna call this function set state to add 1. Now the reason we're doing set state and not just change state or something like that, it's because it's good practice to have the state variable and then right before that have set. So if this was, let's say, count, we would want to make this set count. Now is equal to useState, and we could leave this blank or we could put 0. Now what we're doing here is we're basically setting up the default value. So instead of count, let's say if we had const name and set name is equal to useState, we could set this up to just be empty quotation marks because, well, a name would be a string. But since we are doing count, let's just stick with count. Now let's make a div which will display our count and also have 2 buttons which we will be using to change the state. So we're going to do return parentheses, and in here a div, and in the div let's have a h2 tag which will display the count. Now to display the count, what we want to do is we need to make 2 curly brackets, and in here we can put a variable which is count. Now if we save this and open it back up on our browser, as you can see, it's 0. But if we had changed the default value to, let's say, 10,000, if we open back up our browser, it'll be 10,000, and every time we refresh, it'll be 10,000. Now let's add a button which will increment the value. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a button tag. In here, let's do add. Now let's add a function to the button. So after this button, we're gonna do on click. We're gonna make an arrow function, and in the function we're gonna call this set count function right here. So we're gonna do set count, and what we want to do is we want to take the current count value or the current state value and add a 1 to it. So we're going to do set count count plus 1. Let's change this back to 0. Let's save this and run our app, or open our app, and let's refresh. If we click the add button, it should add 1 to our count. There we go. Now let's do the same for subtracting. So let's add a button. Let's do subtract, and after this button, let's do on click. Make an arrow function which calls set count up here, and we want to take the current count of our app, which will be this count state, and subtract 1. There we go. If we click subtract, there we go. It subtracts 1. We can add and subtract. So this is the useState tutorial. If you found this helpful in any way, please do subscribe and leave a like, and also comment below what other videos you think I should make. All the code files for this project will be found in the description on the GitHub. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.